If you've ever felt like you have so much to do that it's heavy and it seems impossible, then this episode is for you. Join me to learn the Overwhelm Antidote so you can move forward with less stress and improve your productivity. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Charity Haderlie, and you're listening to the Unmute Yourself podcast. Before we dive into the Overwhelm Antidote, I want to pause for a moment and acknowledge that anxiety and depression and other mental health challenges are real and valid, and I stand with you. It's not a simple flip of the switch to snap out of that. I am grateful that there are so many resources out there to help when the challenge is more in depth than what I share in this podcast. My heart goes out to you, and I have battled mental health issues as well. Take whatever works for you on this podcast and let go of what doesn't, and I wish you all the best on your journey. If I were to describe overwhelm, I would say that it's the pressure you feel to do all the things and have them done perfectly by yesterday. And did you know that 70% of adults experience overwhelming stress and anxiety? And nearly half of them cite that this is a massive barrier to their productivity and well-being. So, my friend, if you have felt overwhelmed, you are not alone. One thing I find myself saying to my clients is something along the lines of, this is not a Carly problem, or this is not a Jason problem, or this is not a Charity problem. This is a human pattern. Now, the reason I say that is because sometimes you can feel like there's something wrong with you, when really it's just stuff you go through simply because you're human. And I don't know why, but sometimes we feel like we should be experts at humaning, but we aren't, because every age and every stage brings new surprises and skills that we didn't know. Or sometimes we do know better, but if you're like me, so you get tired or distracted, or you're just kind of sick of working so hard at it, and then things slide and you find yourself falling into old patterns of thinking, or you get caught off guard, not knowing what's really going on inside your body, but your physiology is derailing things that you're trying to do. So what is the Overwhelm Antidote? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple, but first, let me share another story with you. Imagine you're in an airplane soaring at 30,000 feet. From this height, you can see all kinds of things below, but the details are blurred together. Now imagine I tell you to count every person down below. It's impossible, right? Even though there are people there, you're way too far away. This is one illustration of the fact that when your brain is zoomed so far out, trying to take in all the things that you have to do, it cannot see solutions that are right in front of you. The zoomed out brain affects your clarity and your focus and your ability to recognize opportunities and solutions that are there, but you just can't see them. Now, let's go back to that airplane, and I want you to imagine counting every rooftop. You begin to count them. And as you count the rooftops from this elevation, you're going to sound something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, blah, 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 blah. It's just too much for your brain to process. So even though you have the skills to count, if you wanted to, and you had the time and you took the time, you likely will not be able to even count out 10 rooftops from that 30,000 foot viewpoint. This is because our brains are not equipped to process and manage that number of details all at once. And this is one of the reasons that your tasks feel impossible, and then it feels overwhelming. When we feel that, it floods your system with stress hormones. And these hormones can be great in certain situations, but when it's day to day, just trying to work through tasks and your brain zoomed out, it actually impairs your ability to think clearly. And according to the American Psychological Association, the APA, this chronic stress state from such pressures can decrease your cognitive function and impair your decision making. And it can also worsen your visual perception, your memory, and it can shrink brain matter. If you've ever wondered what happened to common sense, well, I think part of it has to do with so many people living in chronic stress. It literally makes us stupid. You do not think and act or make decisions in the same way you would as you would in a calm state. So remember that. You're actually smarter if you calm down and slow down. So the overwhelm antidote is this: stay in the step you're in. So rather than flying off 30,000 feet in that airplane, it actually prevents you from becoming overwhelmed by all the tasks and all the things when you come back down, land that airplane, and focus on one task at a time, because that will increase your productivity. It can increase it by up to 50% and also reduce your stress significantly. Now, finally, that feeling of overwhelm, remember that it's an illusion created by your thoughts. And this illusion will evaporate like fog in the sunrise as you practice staying in the step you're in. Now, as we wrap up, if you are getting value from this podcast, please consider leaving a review or sharing with a friend. That's how we can spread these messages and grow this podcast. And remember, it's up to you to unmute yourself.